Hi everyone. Before we get into it, just want to say a special thanks to everyone that has supported my channel during pre-season. It's seen like significant growth from mid-June when I began my pre-season content, and at the time of recording, I've now produced, I believe, 32 pre-season videos, and I'm hoping to carry that process on between now and game week 1. But before we proceed, I just wanted to bring everyone's attention to this particular metric. I've noticed that my watch time from subscribers is low compared to my watch time from those that haven't subscribed. And that gap, to be fair, it's actually going in the right direction, that more of my subscribers are viewing as opposed to them being non-subscribers. So if you're able to subscribe at some point during this video, that will be greatly appreciated. So let's get straight into it for this particular video. And it's basically this, that we see time and time again during preseason a plethora of ratings and reviews that are carried out by content creators and FPL experts on other people's drafts. And I've done it as well. But then it got me thinking, how do I hold myself to account on it in the sense that, is there something that I can do to take it to another level? And the answer is yes, I can. So as much fun as I've had doing those anonymous draft reviews, I'm going to flip it the other way around. And I'm going to do it so that all of my preseason drafts, I think there's been about 8 in total, will be reviewed. And not only that, it won't be done by another expert or another content creator. I'm going to leave it to the algorithm to ultimately do the review. And this will be done specifically through Drafthound. So if anyone's interested, the link will be in the description below if you want to test it out yourself. And with their algorithm in particular, I've been assured that it's based on market predictions. They aggregate their probabilities, historical metrics, and results for certain events that happen from a wide range of sources. And they basically then present them in one strong, easy to understand metric in the form of their expected points and also their projected points. And this year, they've also introduced expected minutes as well as an additional parameter. So with all that said, what I'm going to do is literally load up my team in their team sheet and let the algorithm basically score in terms of their projected points for game week 1 for each of my drafts, going from, I'll work in reverse order from my current draft right up until the first draft I did when the fixtures were released. And I'm hoping, and I hope this works in the right way, that my most recent drafts will have a higher number of projected points, and that I've tinkered my team in such a way that the earlier drafts will have lower points. So without further ado, let's go straight into it. And here is my draft right now with with Drafthound giving a score. So as we can see there, just go straight in. So I've just kind of cropped out the bench so you can see the starting 11. They're projecting that for game week 1 with my current draft of Onana, Gabriel, Estupinan, Trent and Akanji, and then that power 6 attack of Saka, Odegaard, Rashford, Mitoma, Bruno and Haaland, with Haaland as the captain, is projected to score 62.3 points. And interestingly enough, despite me thinking it's a relatively template squad, the average ownership is only 29%, which is quite interesting. So what I'm going to do right now is reverse engineer all of my drafts, starting with this one, seeing what the points are for each of the drafts. And this is my way of essentially getting my own review done, but just by using the algorithms. And one of the reasons why I'm using the algorithms specifically this season, more so than I've ever done before, is that it was one of my lessons learned from 22-23, that often when it came to a 50-50 call, I relied on gut instinct, or I probably just took risks that I probably shouldn't have and it didn't work out. And I literally never relied on expected stats. And had I had any reliance on expected stats as a secondary or tertiary metric, I would assume that some of those 50-50 calls would have worked out for the better. But unfortunately, they didn't in many instances. So let's go straight into it. That's my team right now, 62.3 points. And working backwards to the draft before this, I had Jesus and I had Stones, and Nakamba was the sub player. So I've got to, let me just do a quick zoom out. I will bring in, I've got Archer here as well. So I'll bring in Archer for Odegaard. There we go. And Archer goes out and in comes Gabriel Jesus. Just check if he's there. There he is. So Archer out, Jesus in, transferred in. And just make sure the midfield is correct as well. There we go. So that's the first adjustment. Oh, let me just do one more. Akanji goes out and John Stones comes in. So that's quite interesting. So I had it as 62.3 for draft number 8. And for this draft, let me just make the adjustment for Odegaard as well, just to make sure there aren't, and the bench doesn't get factored in any way. So let's get in Nakamba. He was the other player. So yeah, no difference there at all. And 62.4. So it's interesting. Working backwards already, I would have been better off with the Jesus, Fernandez, Gabriel Arsenal triple up than the Odegaard, Saka, and Gabriel triple up, and then losing Stones for Akanji. So, you know, fair enough. And I believe that the 4-4-2 formation is significantly more balanced than the 4-5-1 formation. So that's one check there already, that I can see that, yeah, effectively, I would have got 62 points on my latest draft and 62.1 more on the draft that was the penultimate one. So we're going to work our way backwards again with how it was in draft 6, and that's when Onana hadn't been added into the game. So, and I had Ramsdale in goal, and I had Varane as my other defender. So just to reconfirm, what you're seeing there are the expected points that are available through Drafthound, and the link is in the description below if you want to try it out as well. So let's take out Onana. Let's bring in Ramsdale. In he comes. And Gabriel goes out. In comes Varane. And I'm just going to check to make sure there weren't any other significant shifts in my draft as well. So in draft 6, Saka, Rashford, Bruno, Mitoma, and the rest is the same. So there we go. Working backwards now, when it was Ramsdale and Varane as opposed to Gabriel and Onana, similar number of points, but it's actually reduced by 1 point there. So working backwards, I'm now at 61.1. So my expectation is that the further back I go, the lower number the projection of points will be. And that's what the trend is right now. So moving on to the other draft before this one. And this is a radical overhaul now. So as I had it as draft number 5, I had Areola in goal. Let's bring him in. Oh, he's already there, but I'll bring in the other goalkeeper that I had in this draft. I think it was a 4.0 goalkeeper. So I think Macy of Luton. There he is. Just switch them out. And then in this draft, it was Estupinan, Trent, Gabriel, and Stone. So I've got Estupinan, Stone. So out goes Varane. In comes Gabriel. And the formation was a 4-4-2 or 4-5-1 here, with Saka, Bruno, Mbeumo, Salah, Enciso, and Haaland. So I'll bring in another midfielder. Out goes Jesus. Just switch them out. So Nakamba is Mbeumo. and Mitoma is Enciso. I'm working backwards here with how the team was with each of my drafts. I'm demonstrating it. Here we go, 58.7 points. You can just ignore the cash in the bank because it's taking the points on the players that are on the pitch right now. So 58.7 for this, and this was my 5th draft. So just to recap there, I've gone from 62.3, 62.4, 61.1, 58.7. So it's working. So as hoped, the draft is getting progressively worse in terms of points there. And that's exactly what I wanted to prove. So I'm now going to my 4th draft. And this had Fabianski in goal. But Fabianski, I believe, isn't expected to start. So he'll probably be on 0 points here. But that's fine, just for the purpose of this draft. So out goes Macy, in comes Fabianski. I think you'll automatically recognize Areola's points in this instance. And the rest of the team here was Estupinan, Trent, Gabriel, Stones. Estupinan, Trent, Gabriel, Stones, got them all. Martinelli, Bruno, and Mbeumo, Salah. So Martinelli, Bruno, and so out goes Rashford. In comes Salah. That was Martinelli, Bruno, and Mbeumo, Salah. So no Enciso. Out goes Enciso. I need a striker. Bring in the Jesus Void one. And my strikers were Haaland and Morris. So in this draft, just make sure it's 4-4-2. Got them all there. And interestingly enough, this is rated as a 60.1 when it comes to the actual points. In this instance, it's actually bucked the trend, and it was rated as a better draft. So let's just update that there. And then draft 3, which was very different to this draft, I had Kepa in goal. So out goes Fabianski. In comes Kepa. There he is. My defense was White, Estupinan, Duncan, Stones. Very different to what I have here. So Gabriel goes out. White, Estupinan, Dunk. So there's no Trent here. So I had double Brighton defense in this draft. This must have been a late June draft, and this was before the game was released. And then the midfield was Mbeumo, Gerard Bowen, Saka, Salah. So Saka, Salah, Mbeumo, Gerard Bowen. And my strikers in this draft were Haaland and Ferguson, interestingly enough. Again, you can just ignore the bench. The bench won't get factored in for the points. And yep, this is my lowest one right now, 57.3. So draft 3, 57.3. And that's my lowest score so far. So I've got 2 drafts to go. And like I've said, with the algorithm, as the trend that I'd expect is that as you progress with your drafts, the better the expected point score will be. And I'm working backwards just because it's easier with me in terms of like the players I've already selected rather than just doing it from scratch. So we're on 2 drafts to go. And in the remaining 2 drafts, if I just bring it up here, now this is very different. So draft 2 is very different here. So I've got Johnston and Pinnock in this team. So out goes Kepa, in comes Johnston. And the defense is White, Estupinan, Trent, Pinnock. White, Estupinan, Trent, and Pinnock as my Brentford midfielder. And again, this was a draft before the game got released. And my midfield is Saka, Martinelli, Salah, and Harrison Reed, interestingly enough. Saka, Martinelli, Mbeumo, Martinelli, Salah, and Harrison Reed. And then the strikers are Haaland and Ferguson. So here we go. And this the trend, as I expected, is basically showing that my draft here is 55.3 as for projected points. So the draft is getting progressively worse, which is brilliant. And it's interesting that you'd actually expect that as well before the game went live, because some of the projected prices were higher. And obviously, FPL's got this trend whereby the prices appear to be deflated this season as they were last season compared to previous seasons, especially back in the day when you could get goalkeepers for 7 million and midfields, maestros across the board for like 10 million plus, whereas now they're like 8.5. So I'm expecting when I come to my final, the first draft that I did, that it should be even lower than 55.3. So here goes. So I've got Johnson in goal again, White, Estupinan, Trent, and Pinnock becomes Wan-Bissaka. There he is. Probably not even expected to get many points, or even just get on the pitch actually, with the current United team. And then the midfield is Martinelli, Kulusevski, Salah, and Ndiaye. Very different. So out goes Saka. I think Ndiaye's made a move to another club, but is oh, what's happened there? Ndiaye's in my squad. Sorry, one moment. Oh, it's because Ndiaye is listed as striker, of course. So I've got to just okay. I'm gonna make. So I've got Wissar as my striker here, but let's just make Wissar Mbeumo because in the projected points, Ndiaye was a midfielder. So working backwards, I've got Harrison Reed out, Kulusevski in, and there we go. So yeah, slight fiddle here because I actually had Wissar as opposed to Ndiaye, and in this draft it's 55.6. So it's actually slightly better than draft number 2. But let's just get Wissar in because Wissar was the striker that I had. I projected he'd be a striker as well. Yep, there he is, and he was a striker. So get Mbeumo out. Let's get another Sheffield. Let's get a 6 million. Let's get Wissar's name out there. Price up to 6 million, just for argument's sake. Position is midfield. Apply. Just trying to look for the next best equivalent here. There aren't any here. Let's have a look. I mean, let's just say for argument's sake, Jensen. Yeah, same. So, yeah, I'll settle with that. So, as we've seen, I've shown in total all of my 8 drafts that I've constructed through preseason, and no doubt I'll probably do an update later next week and also a week before the game goes live. I'll probably have at least 10 drafts, but of the 8 that I've done so far, you can see that progressively the expected number of points has reduced as I've gone further back into my drafts. So I'm hoping, again, I didn't expect to use an algorithm when I started draft number 1. It wasn't like I've tailored it so that the algorithm would progressively project it better, but it just shows you, and I've got no doubt if you try it as well, that your projected points will essentially get progressively better as you go further into your drafts, because you'll just probably in some respects conform to the template, or there's certain players who you probably just picked purely out of chance, and then you've gone for someone who is a bit more, let's just say, just got more expected points for those initial game weeks. Perhaps you factor in fixtures more. I think essentially what happens as we draw nearer to the deadline, that we essentially get attracted to the template, especially a lot of engaged managers. Of course, you have probably an odd differential here and there as well. But here's my squad. in FPL mode right now. But if you did wanted to check out those algorithms and those expected points, link is in the description below. And I guess the answer to my question was that the algorithm did exactly as I expected it would be, that I've got more or less the highest score in my current draft. And as I've gone backwards, effectively, I've dropped by 6 or 7 points for my game week 1 score. And it'll be interesting to see, actually. I'll probably do a follow-on video when my actual team goes live, and when the deadline passes, and then what the actual points are after the game week has concluded. Now, I'm more than happy to do a comparison to see how much it was right or how much it was wrong. Because for me, if I'm going to rely on expected stats more this season, I need some sort of validation. I'm not going to just do it off the cuff. But when it comes to 50-50 decisions, I'm not going to rely on gut instinct. I will go on expected stats, as you've seen there. And what I find quite interesting, if I just go back to the other screen, just clear all the filters. I like the fact with this view, and you can just ignore the team. I've still got my old team there. In fact, let's just zoom in actually. Oh, can't do that there. Let's leave it at that for now. I like the fact with the expected points, it's a breakdown not just for game week 1, it's for up to game week 2, up to game week 3 as well. And then if I view, like for example, Martinelli's player profile, you've got a projection up for the next 5 game weeks as well. And then you've got a breakdown right up until game week 10 for Sheffield United. And of course, these numbers do change over time as well. And they might, other factors come into play as well. But it's just something quite useful to know that if you are, like myself, undecided on certain decisions, let the algorithm decide it for you. And if it's not going to work, completely fine, but there's no harm in trying ultimately. So there you have it. I let the algorithm look at my team, rate my team, and it's basically telling me that my decision making is heading in the right direction. And that's exactly the validation that I wanted. So the question is that can I carry on making more of those tweaks between now and game week 1? And are those tweaks also going to head in the right direction as well? So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, like in terms of looking at this team right now, I look at the weaknesses. I'd rather have John Stones there rather than Akanji, to be perfectly frank with you. And like Odegaard, I've seen so much like excellent in his expected stats, but then I'm thinking if I want balance, I might have to go 4-4-2 and then go Jesus. But then there are all these like other options that have merged in preseason as well. That this is very like if I go back to the previous draft, where I had Jesus and Stones, that's very template heavy, and I don't mind that. But I'm thinking, is there a player that I'm missing out on? And I am going to do another video on differentials because I feel that there are some differentials that I'm not going to get obviously a differential in each position, of course not. But maybe if I've got like space for one differential in one place, I'm willing to do that based on preseason form and also their importance in their own respective teams as well. But with this team, obviously Haaland straight in there, Rashford, Bruno, Saka, locks there already. Is Mitoma a lock? I want to see more like from Brighton, but like he's the default Brighton player. But then if I get like reliable information that questions his X-Mins, then I might not go for him. But I believe on X-Mins right now, he's fairly reliable, more so than some of the other Brighton attackers. Odegaard, very reliable for X-Mins for Arsenal, but the question is, what kind of role will he play, especially with Havertz in the team as well? But that defense of Estupiñán, Trent and Gabriel can't knock it. This team is clearly missing Mohamed Salah. Would love to shoehorn him in, but as we've seen in the drafts that I've shown, in fact, the one you can see right now, the team gets somewhat lopsided. Like you can get Trent and Salah in your team, but I just think it's too much of a headache right now. And I feel that with his low ownership, at least for game week 1, you could potentially get away with it. And yeah, game week 2, you might have to ride the storm without having Mohamed Salah in the squad. But then, you know what? So be it. It has to be done. The kind of squad that I'm creating right now, and the one I have in mind, is it's not a long haul squad. It's one where if I really need to wildcard by international break 1, I can do that. So that's 4 game weeks. But then if I get lucky and get good like scores early on, I'm happy to push it up until IB2. There's not like an arbitrary time, but just based on especially the bench, I'll quickly just show the bench again. Surridge's gone to MLS, Archer, odd cameo point, Baldock, let's hope he gets occasional starts here and there. Yeah, it's a very light bench, and I'm happy for it to be light. So, yeah, there you have it. That is my teams, my drafts, all of them from June till present, rated by the algorithm. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know if you've got a higher rating than 62.3 for your own respective projections, or at 62.4 actually, if I go to the 442. And as always, like I've said at the start of the video, if you can like, share, and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best. Thank you. Bye.